Go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/online therapy to get 20% off your first month of cognitive behavioural therapy, with weekly sessions online with a therapist, in addition to worksheets, a journal, meditation and yoga videos, and unlimited messaging. There's strong evidence that CBT can help people who hoard, and accessing therapy online can be affordable and accessible. Find out more and get your discount at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/online therapy.
A lot can happen in 3 years, like a chatbot may be your new best friend. But what won't change? Needing health insurance. United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans, underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, offer flexible, budget-friendly coverage that lasts nearly 3 years in some states. Learn more at uh1.com.
Since 2013, Bombas has donated over 100 million socks, underwear, and T-shirts to those facing homelessness. If we counted those on air, this ad would last over 1,157 days. But if we counted the time it takes to make a donation possible, it would take just a few clicks. Because every time you make a purchase, Bombas donates an item to someone who needs it.
Go to bombas.com/ACAST and use code ACAST for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/ACAST, code ACAST.
Say hello to a new era of mental health care. Cerebral is here to help you achieve your mental wellness goals with professional therapy and medication management support. 100% online. You'll experience the all-new Cerebral Way, an innovative approach to mental wellness designed around you. You'll get a personalized treatment plan from a therapist, prescriber, or both in a safe and judgment-free space. Your Cerebral therapist or prescriber will outline a customized plan with clear milestones along the way, so you can get to feeling your best. With Cerebral, you're not alone in your mental health journey. We're here to empower you to live a fulfilling life. So take that first step towards a brighter future and sign up today at Cerebral.com/podcast and use code ACAST to get 15% off your first month. Offer only valid on monthly plans. Other exclusions may apply. Offer ends July 31st, 2024. See site for details.
Welcome to the Overcome Compulsive Hoarding with That Hoarder podcast. I am drowning in stuff and trying to find a way out. Listen as I explore the issues and delve deep as somebody profoundly affected by hoarding disorder. Find out more, including links to subscribe to the podcast, at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk, and follow me on Twitter at That Hoarder and on Facebook at facebook.com/That Hoarder. So it's nearly Christmas, and that's pretty hard to avoid in the Western world at least. So the big issue with Christmas for hoarders, or our big issue for Christmas for hoarders, is gifts. Both giving and receiving gifts can be fraught. There are so many risks. There will probably be stuff coming into your house which you may or may not even want. And also you're probably expected to give gifts to others. And that can be a lovely thing or it can be a stressful thing. So I'm going to talk today about giving gifts and receiving gifts, advice specifically for hoarders. So I'm going to start with giving gifts. The first key element is do not get into debt to give people Christmas presents. Buying somebody a nice candle or a food hamper is nice, but if you're going to be paying it off for the next 3 years, then that's a problem. That's a big problem. And nobody should expect you to do that for them. If you need to get tiny gifts for people, then if they are good people, they will appreciate that just as much as they would if you got them a designer vase or something really expensive. So, sure, spend on gifts, but spend within your means. My second tip for hoarders for giving gifts is don't assume that everybody else wants as much stuff around them as you might want in your life. Some people are complete minimalists, some people are hoarders, but there's everywhere on the spectrum between those two things as well. So don't buy people 12 ornaments for the fireplace. Don't buy them 10 books. Don't buy them 2 clocks. Think about what people who aren't hoarders tend to have around them at home, and try and be a bit thoughtful about the fact that they may not want a load of stuff. One carefully thought out gift can be inexpensive if it needs to be, but if it's carefully thought out, people appreciate it. Because what they get from that is that you know them and you love them and you love who they are because you've got them something that perfectly defines them. My third tip for giving gifts is consider giving experiences rather than physical items. And this can be things you can buy, like you could buy a pair of cinema tickets for somebody, or you could splash out a bit more and get somebody a hot air balloon ride, or a panic room day, which sounds to me like my worst nightmare, but some people really enjoy those. But it also doesn't have to be something that costs money. You can write them a card and say, redeem this card for a trip to the park with me. Let's go for a walk. And that can be just as thoughtful and lovely as getting a box of chocolates. My fourth tip seems obvious, but it's not necessarily, and that's to ask people what they want. Maybe somebody really needs some tea towels, or they really need something really practical that you would never have thought to get them, but actually they would really benefit from. So ask. The worst that will happen is they'll say, oh, just surprise me, and you'll be exactly where you were when you started, but that's okay. Best, you'll get them something that you know they will appreciate and cherish because they've told you that that's exactly what they want or need. My fifth tip, be very careful if you plan to buy gifts and keep them at your home before you give them to the person. Firstly, you don't have the space. I can say that fairly authoritatively, I think. You don't have the space to store big bags of gifts for other people. You don't have the space for your own stuff, never mind other people's stuff. Secondly, you might decide to keep those things. If you have hoarding tendencies, this is a risk. If you have a gorgeous, jewellery box that you've bought for your sister, but it's so pretty and it's sitting there in your front room looking at you, being all pretty, you may think, oh, I'll buy her another one, or I'll buy her something else and I'll keep this one. That's the last thing you want to do. Thirdly, you might lose those things before you have a chance to pass them on, and then you'll either have to rebuy them, which leaves you with the originals as clutter. You don't need any more clutter. Or if you don't or can't rebuy those things, then you miss out on giving them something. What I did last year, because of COVID regulations, was I got gifts for my various family members sent directly to them rather than coming to me, because I knew I wouldn't be seeing them over Christmas. So everything I ordered online, and I got it sent to them instead of to me. And it was a revelation. I am doing the same this year. Well, I've done it already this year. Everybody's gift doesn't come to my house at all, which saves on postage. It saves me trying to organize it all and get to the post office. And it saves those 3 risks that I've just outlined. I don't have the space to keep that stuff. I might decide to keep some of it, and I might lose it. So if you can get things sent directly to the recipient, that's ideal. If you can't, come up with a serious plan about exactly where you're going to keep this stuff, exactly how you're not going to lose it, and exactly how you're going to ignore any calls from the items to keep them. And my final guideline for giving gifts as a hoarder is related to that last one, actually. don't buy something that you really secretly want yourself. One risk is that you'll keep it. Another is that rather than risking this happening, you'll just say, sod it, and buy two. Buy one for them and one for you. If you're hitting add to cart on an item you really want and you have hoarding tendencies, it's massively dangerous to buy it, whether for somebody else or not. And as a hoarder, you're also going to receive gifts at Christmas. If you don't have family or friends, then maybe not. And I'm very sorry about that, because that must be incredibly difficult at this time of year when all the focus is on getting together with people and having a good time. If you're lonely or isolated, that's painful. And I'm sorry you're in that situation. If you are lucky enough to have family and friends, and if those family and friends are generous gift givers, then you're going to be in a situation in a few weeks' time where you have more stuff in your house. So, some strategies for getting gifts at Christmas for hoarders. First of all, think about a few inexpensive items that you definitely really want or need. Make sure this isn't a fleeting desire, like something you saw a Facebook ad for yesterday that you'd never even heard of before that, and suddenly you're desperate to get one. But stuff that you have been thinking for a while, I could really benefit from a new, desk organizer, or I could really benefit from some nice chocolate. I really enjoy that. Something like that. And when you've thought of those things, if somebody asks you what you would like as a gift, you can suggest them. And like with giving gifts, my second strategy for receiving gifts is to consider requesting experiences rather than things. These days you can buy trips where you can drive around a racetrack in a racing car. You might want to go to a live music concert. You might want an annual pass to a local museum or a massage voucher. Ask for those things instead of stuff. And if somebody is not very well off and may struggle buying presents, then again, like I suggested with giving experiences rather than physical items, suggest some free experiences. Say to somebody, I'd love to go on a drive out to the countryside with you and just catch up. Why don't we make a picnic and go somewhere nice when the weather warms up? That kind of thing. My third tip about receiving gifts is ask for donations in your name to your favourite charity. That way, people feel good that first of all, they're doing what you've asked them to do. Secondly, it does feel good to make a charity donation. And thirdly, you can feel good that rather than having another useless basket of bath goodies in the queue in your bathroom, instead of that, then a children's cancer charity or a homelessness charity or a refugee charity has got some money that it didn't have before that will help them in the running of their operation. Tip number 4, ask for food, and ask for food that you will definitely eat. Don't ask for things, random stuff. Be specific. Say, I love chocolate, or get me some posh cheese, or I would love some local food. Something like that you will definitely use, that you will enjoy, and that will help if you have somebody who likes to give you something physical. Another thing to request is time. Time spent with those you love in a restaurant, on a night out. Say to somebody, I don't want anything from you other than let's book a Friday night and have a great time. And finally, when you are given gifts, resist the urge to keep every scrap of wrapping paper for reuse. There is always more wrapping paper. You've probably already got a stash, and if somehow you get to next Christmas and you haven't got a stash, it's so cheap, it's so easily available, throw away the wrapping paper. Now, there is also a big dilemma for a lot of hoarders. for a lot of people actually have this dilemma, but hoarders in particular have it more acutely than most. And that is what to do with unwanted gifts. And that, to be honest, is a topic of its own. I don't want to smush it in with giving and receiving gifts in this episode because it might get lost with too many topics. But either next week or the week after, I am planning to talk about what to do with unwanted gifts because I know it's a huge problem.
Cool fact, a crocodile can't stick out its tongue. Also, you can get health insurance for a month or just under a year in some states. United Healthcare short-term insurance plans, underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, offer flexible, budget-friendly coverage for you. Learn more at uh1.com.
I'm Sandra, and I'm just the professional your small business was looking for. But you didn't hire me because you didn't use LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn has professionals you can't find anywhere else, including those who aren't actively looking for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role, like me.
In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you'll miss out on great candidates like Sandra. Start hiring professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/spoken today.
In just 1 second, I'll give you my top tip of the week. In the meantime, please do subscribe to the podcast, review it, 5 stars would be amazing, and share it with your friends or anyone who might be interested or who might benefit from it. It all really helps. To find out more ways to support the website, the podcast, and my overall de-hoarding project, go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/support. Now, back to your top tip. So my top tip this week is for people who haven't embarked so much on the de-hoarding journey and they're wondering whether to or whether not to. But it's also good for people who have started de-hoarding and are questioning themselves. Perhaps they're finding it's a really huge and overwhelming task and they don't know if it's the right thing to do. And it's a bit of a cliched suggestion, but some cliches are cliches for good reasons, and that's because they work. So write a pros and cons list for whether or not you want to de-hoard. Be really honest on both sides of the list. So in the pros of de-hoarding, talk about the things you would hope to get out of it. You might say, I will be able to invite my friends round for a dinner party. Or you might say, I won't panic when somebody knocks on the door. That kind of thing. But also be honest on the cons list. You might worry that you'll get rid of something and regret it. You might miss a feeling of safety from having your stuff around you. Really get it all out. Spend a few days on and off on it if that helps. And try and lay it all down in front of you. And as long as you're honest on both sides of the list, you can then look at it and make a decision about whether you want to move forward or not. I imagine the pros will be stronger than the cons, but that may not be the case. But you need to be really motivated to attack this problem. So this is a good basis for getting there. Okay, thank you for listening, and I will speak to you next week. Thank you for listening to the Overcome Compulsive Hoarding podcast. You can find more online at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk. You can find me on Twitter at @thathoarder and on Facebook at Overcome Compulsive Hoarding with That Hoarder. To find out more about how you can support this podcast and the overall project, go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/support and do subscribe to this podcast so you make sure you don't miss any future episodes.